Oh, brother man. Round 26, we are into it. 2 rounds to go. Team lists are in. KL Iro is back. What a time to be alive. 12 weeks out from his pec injury in round 14. It's great to see. Now, Doggies v Panthers. You may know a few of these faces in the Panther side. It's a full 17 switch this week. And in terms of fun plays, it's probably hard to pick any of them just because I think they'll be out next week. So it's likely a 1-weeker. Guys like Dane Laurie, we know, seem to go off in these types of games, but yeah, very, very difficult to pick any of them. So Cleary's, Yo's, Edwards, all these really important players are out this week. They will return next week just to prep and get themselves ready for the finals. Now, it's been 2 really crazy games for them, so it makes sense. They're not going to go for the top 4. That's why they're out. New South Wales Cup. They're actually sitting, I think it's the top 5 for Cup. They're actually sitting in 5th right now, and finals start next week. So these Cup players will definitely return for that one. Hopefully they can actually make the final. And they're giving up a fair bit this week, which is pretty interesting. For the Doggies, the only change there is Kikau being out. Curran comes back into the side for anyone still hanging on to Joshy Curran. I did see 1 or 2 last week in that situation. Now, Jacob Kiraz, I am personally expecting a pretty big week here from him. And you've got guys like Galvin, Preston, Burton that are owned by people, I think can all have really nice games against, what they call them? They used to be the baby Broncos, the baby Panthers here. So, yeah, should be a fun game. I think, Kiraz VC, pretty safe option this week. I think he can have a really good one. Moving on to game 2, look at that list of outs. It's craziness. We got Harry Hayes out as well from that one. Now, the Warriors-Eels clash for the Wars look very, very similar in this one here. No outs for them. And anyone to take a little punt on, to be honest, it probably doesn't look like a squad that you want to take a chance on any sort of final best buys. For the Eels there, you're looking at Lomax, hopefully a little bit healthier. Papali keeps his spot. Hopgood still look really good, like mid-range finisher. For the season, if you need something under 600k, he's in a pretty good spot for that. Moses a better score last week. He's at a decent price as well. That could have a decent end to the season. And we've got guys like Jack Williams still in a similar boat to last week in a pretty good spot there. Storm Roosters, we do see a few restings and then the suspension of Harry Grant. So any Eli Katoa owners, unfortunately, in the bin, and Joe Chan replaces him. Nick Meaney gets a rest in this one as well. Xavier Coates, we see Cam Bradley come into the side. And Tumalatu Brown. So Will Warbrick doesn't make the side. He's in reserves though, so a chance. But will they send him in for this one or for next week? Will he make the actual return side, or is Grant Anderson going to keep that spot ahead of him as well? Guys, make sure you go check out the video last night from me, or this morning, from myself and Mitch. I need you guys to create a punishment for us. We're doing a 6-week challenge here. Not a gym challenge, but this one's going to be just a fun predictions, fantasy predictions type challenge there, all worth certain points. And we've only had the one punishment that's been laid down so far from Austin, from the amateurs. So jump in the comments. We want to hear your punishments there for us, and we'll pick the best one to actually apply. So I know there's not a lot of us still kicking around at this point of the season, but we'd really appreciate that. So jump on. It was a fun video, just more of a comedy style roasting, all the good stuff there. So check that out. Well, Wishart, Munster all keep their spot. Pappenhausen, if you do own him there as well, in a decent spot this week to score some good points. And Shawnee Bloor does return. Trent Liero keeps his spot there. I'm surprised he is not the one to get a rest, but I think he will get that next week when a few of the other guys come back, and maybe we see Munster, maybe Pappenhausen rest as well. On the Roosters side of things, nothing really changes from them. I'm sure we'll see a switcheroo come game day. We've seen Wong come off the bench. It looks like Radley will keep that position now, unfortunately. Will Watson and Benaya change come game day? Probably. Sammy Walker is out. Sandon Smith comes back into the side. Junior Tupou is out for Daniel Tupou. In terms of that side, there's no real standouts I don't think that you'd want to have a flyer at. Coming down to Raiders and Tigers, the Raiders are playing their guys this week. I'm a little bit concerned for minutes, especially for Tarpanay after the big minute game last week. Hudson Young probably still goes the 80. Does Horsburgh play less minutes? Surely guys like Mariota, Smithy, Sasangi all get some bigger minutes. I suppose they all can't rest a lot, so We'll see. Surely guys like Josh Papali'i and these types of players have less time. But again, they can't give all of them a rest. So who it's going to be is going to be hard to figure out. Do we see like 60 minutes from Smithies and these types of players there? Just be aware of that. Looking to potentially loop a few of those guys, considering they aren't needed. With them really looking to lock up first spot. Timoko's still a fun little pick. Will these guys get rest though? We just don't know with this side heading into the final 2 rounds. Well, the final round after this. But Tamale back, the hot Tamale train, can't wait to see it. Right in time for finals, and unfortunately they lose Xavier Savage. So thankfully they have Tamale to come back at the correct time to play the rest of the season. Exciting for him. And for the Tigers, Stafford Toa comes back into this side. Latu Fainu ends up in the 7 jersey for Adam Dewey, which is sad for us owners. Anyone who doesn't have any trades. So outside of that, no real flyers to take a punt on unless you're looking at a mid-range Taylor May. Down the list, Dragons and the Eagles on Saturday evening. And for the Dragons, we see a couple of movements there. We do not see a change for King Tonga, thank goodness. Halangahu actually keeps his spot in this side with Luciano Leilua heading back to the bench, surprisingly enough. We won't see Halangahu play massive minutes in this one. Shouldn't, anyway. With Jaden Sewer returning, so a nice welcome back to the side there. They should put up more of a fight in this one, and knowing this team, they're probably going to have a bounce-back win, considering they were playing really, really well up until last week and their demolition derby when they got smacked by those Rabbitohs. And now you can see all those big ins there, Sele, DeBellin, and Sewer, with Raymond Feitel and Mariner coming out of this side. And then for the Manly boys, in terms of the Dragons, we saw Cook play 13 and Little start. That will go back to normal this week there. For the Eagles, potential to take a flyer on guys like Turbo if you didn't end up having him in your team last week. DCE, a really nice pick as well. Given the goal kicking, he kicked really, really well, and a bit of a swan song kind of end to the season for him. They have a couple of decent games to jump on and go for those guys. In the forwards there, no one to take a punt on either. Now, Cowboys, Broncos, Reece Walsh, I still have him as the best buy of the week, and it's probably where I'll go. But if I wasn't to go there, Iro, DCE would be next on the list, definitely there. In terms of other guys, you could take a flyer on some outside backs if you didn't have too much cash, but I'd probably go Hiroti, like I did last week myself. Ben Hunt's still in a solid situation to continue scoring well, but we do have Adam Reynolds sitting in 22. Now, I don't see any reason for him to come back early and play this week, especially coming back from a hamstring, but next week, heading into the finals, would be perfect timing for him to come back. So that's my thoughts. I don't think it's worth it, but it shouldn't change many of our thoughts in our squads. Carrigan, Haas, so they're going to continue with decent minutes. We do see Piakura back on the interchange there, which is good for the squad, just to have another number back. And guys like Katoni Stagg's been absolutely flying lately, so if you've jumped on him, happy days. Drinkwater, the final week for the Cowboys of their season. Tom Dearden and Drinky, the two guys to have a look at if you wanted to take a flyer for your head-to-head grand finals. Otherwise, they're going to miss next week, so probably not great overall purchases. For the Sharkies and Knights, Sharkies will be fighting for a spot in this top 4, or at least a home final, so they'll be a great team to push into, and I think they are very close to the Broncos style pick this week, as the teams that are on a roll and looking to really put on scores and outside backs to really have big numbers here. So Iro, I think, is a super fun pick. He is at a decent price, $672 I think he's at, and Rawini Hiroti, if you need the cheapie of the week, the mid-range, sort of 430 or whatever he is, 420 odd, he is the guy. He's the guy I picked last week, and I'm riding him to the moon. In my predictions, I have him over 62, and I think it's a pretty red-hot chance, which stats probably say it isn't, but he was their best player a couple of weeks ago, so that would be my pick of the week. Who's going to jump on with me? We just see Talakai go back to the bench, and that made sense, given the fact that Iro comes back, Hiroti's actually a center, and they lose McInnes, so Talakai is going to be really helpful through the middle and is a good cover for the outside backs as well. And they've got Pudu, who comes in in the 14 there instead of Daniel Atkinson, who they didn't actually play last week, so he'll deputise as cover for the halves as well. Adam Fanua-Blake, I'm expecting some decent minutes from him, although they do have the additional mids on the bench rather than having, Atkinson there. But what you do see is Billy Burns and Teague Wilton, the two guys there for the second row. And Jesse Cole-Hewn gets the 13 jersey, so he'll be a very, very cheap potential solid pick at 13, but minutes-wise, unsure where he's going to go. Blake Brayley, a really fun pick this week to finish off the year. And Adam, I'm expecting the decent minutes. And for the Knights there, we're looking at Dane Gagai at 1 still. Looks like they're just going to set and forget that to finish the season now after changing for the week there. And in the forwards, you've got Kaipis Paul, still a good pick. And then Jermaine McEwen, if you have him at the moment, a solid play as well. Crossan stays in the 9 with Brayley at 14 and no other changes for them. In this side with Greg Marzu sitting in the 18 after missing last week. Paul McInnes. And then to finish this one off, Dolphins up against the Titans. We don't see any changes really for the Titans there, which is great news for us. Keanu Kenny keeps his spot in the 14. And we've still got Tino as a great buy there. I would still select him for sure. For the Finns there, you got Fina Fuyaki and Max Finai out of this one, which is frustrating for them, just to have a couple more outs. But Lemuelu gets his spot back in the starting side. Kurt Donahue is just limping to the finish, and hopefully this is the good game for guys like him and Isaiah Katoa. That's the hope anyway. Trey Fuller keeps at 1, Jersey Hamaso in at number 4. Jeremy Marshall-King's been playing really well, so he's the only kind of flyer that you could take at 9. And outside of that, that's where we're at. We're leaving it there. Will we change captaincy and everything this week? I don't think so. I feel like this match with the Broncos and the Cowboys is always a fun back and forth, and with no Cleary in there and May kind of struggling a little bit. I feel like Payne Haas is the very simple and obvious choice. But last 2 rounds to go, a lot of people struggling to get players on the park. Hopefully you've got 17 or close to it. 16 won't be the worst in the world. And if you've got 18 for one looper, that could be cool also. So thanks so much for joining in for this one. We will do a short best buys and holds and sells for anyone still with trades left heading into the head-to-head grand final. Good luck with that, and good luck with your last 2 rounds, guys. Remember, I will be dropping the JBFA 2026 private group at the finish of round 27. So there's going to be some really, really cool goodies available for anyone who wants to join in early. That's the point. If you join in early, I'll give you some extra stuff, which is awesome. So thanks so much for tuning in here, guys, all the way through. Love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.